Hey, what is up, guys? My name is Andy. Welcome to the show. Today, this is a kind of different format for me, but I wanted to compare this to, I have Tudor gloves here. I wanted to compare this to, because I find interesting how I really like how the Explorer 2 wears on my wrist. And my wrist is a 6.7 inch wrist. Actually, I am wearing right now a Rolex vintage, maybe from the 70s, 36 millimeters, and it wears very nice on my wrist naturally. So yeah, one is 41 and the other one is 42. And main differences are just about 1 millimeter throughout almost all of the measurements that I took. I have here my trusty notebook that I wrote all the measurements in millimeters and in actually the weight of the watches that I've taken with my calipers, my trusty calipers here. So yeah, I wanted to talk about this too because I've been wearing a lot my Rolex Explorer 2, and I really love how this watch wears on my 6.7 inch wrist, and I'm gonna show you in a bit how it wears this watch. But the thing is that I thought that this watch was going to look big on me. People are saying that it kind of looks big on me, but I don't think so. I think that the watch looks incredibly well in proportion to my wrist. My wrist span, so let's take a measurement like from here to here is 52.2, I think it is. So I'm going to measure right now the wrist for you guys to see. From here to here is actually 57.1, and if I do this, is in 0. All right, so I wear naturally my watches right from here. So let's see that measurement, and it is 53 millimeters. So this is important because people are telling me that my wrist, 6.7 inch wrist, is small for the Rolex Explorer 2. I don't think so. I think that the Rolex Explorer 2 wears incredibly well on my wrist. And the measurement of my wrist is important because I'm going to tell you why in a second. So I took a lot of measurements on the watches, and let's start with the Submariner. So the Submariner has a case diameter of 41 on the spot, 41 millimeters in diameter. The bezel is, strangely, because I think that the bezel was protruding just a little bit from the case, as you can see right here. Look at that. Can you see it? It is protruding out from the case, but I think that is an illusion because the bezel is 40.5 millimeters, and I measured it again and again and again from here to here, from here to here, from here to here, and it got me the same 40.5 millimeters. So that's maybe one of the things that makes the Rolex Submariner kind of feel a little bit smaller than 41. I don't know. So I measured to the log width, so it is 21 millimeter right on the bottom. It's 21.2, something like that, 21.3. And the measurement of the end link here, it starts at 20.3. So it's just 1 millimeter down from the first link. So it's the end link here. One of the measurements that I got is from 21, it tapers down to 18 millimeters in the clasp, 18.8 millimeters in the clasp right here. And the length of the clasp is 45.2. So yeah, it's long. It's a long clasp here. So I measured the crank guards from here to here, right here, and it gave me the measurement of 14 millimeters. The crown is 6.7 inches in diameter. Then we have the lug-to-lug that is here to here. It is 47.7. That's strangely short for a Submariner in 41, and it's super cool. And from the end link to end link, it is 51 right on the button, 51 millimeters from tip of the end links here. The thickness is 12.3 or 12.2. It gave me most of the measurements in 12.2. of the thickness on this watch. The diameter, this is important. So the diameter of the crystal here is 30 millimeters right on the bottom. 30 millimeters. It's a 30 millimeter glass. Maybe the dial is a little bit smaller, but yeah, that the crystal here that I measured is 30 millimeters exactly. And the weight of this watch is 152 grams. So it's not that heavy. And this is measured for my 6.7 inches wrist. So yeah, it's missing like 2 links, I think, maybe 2 links. But yeah, this is the Rolex Submariner. Those are the measurements of the Rolex Submariner. Let's take a look at the Rolex Explorer. So the Rolex Explorer case is 42 millimeters in diameter exactly. The bezel is 41.2, and I measured it from here to here, from here to here, from here to here. It gave me always 41.2. The log width is 22 millimeters, or 20, sometimes gave me 22.2, and the first link is 21.2. The clasp is 19 millimeters, 19.2 millimeters thick, and is from here to here, so the length of the clasp is 36.6. So it's so much smaller than the Rolex Submariner one that you can see right here. The crown guards here, this is interesting. The crown guards are a little bit small, a little bit bigger from here to here. On the Explorer 2, it's wider, but the crown is exactly the same. It's 6.7 inches in diameter, but it's just a little bit shorter than the Rolex Submariner. Maybe you can see right here. So look at the crown guards, how it's almost flushed with the crown here, and this crown protrudes a little bit more from the crowns, from the crown guard. So you can see right here. But yeah, that's one thing that makes this watch look a little bit smaller, in my opinion. The log to log is 40. So from here to here, log to log is 49.7. So almost 50. And the end link to end link here, the tip of the end link to the tip of the end link, is 52.4. So remember this measurement. So my wrist is 53 where I wear the watch, and 57 where my bone is. So yeah, it's kind of cool that with these measurements we can now understand why this watch, or for me at least, why this watch doesn't look that big on my wrist. It is big, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't look that big, in my opinion. So the thickness is exactly the same as the Submariner, which surprised me because it has this is a movement that it is a GMT movement, so it has 4 hands, and it actually has a date. So it is 12.2 in thickness. That surprised me a lot, and I thought that this one was a little bit thicker than the Rolex Submariner, because if you check out the sides of these watches, you can see right there that this Rolex Explorer is kind of just a little bit thicker than the Rolex Submariner. I know you can see that very well, but there you go. I can see exactly that the Rolex Submariner is a bit, just a tad slimmer on the mid case. This is a little bit more slab-sided, but they are actually the same thickness. The dial, so well, maybe the crystal, so the sapphire crystal measures at 32.3, so 2.3 millimeters bigger than the dial or the diameter of the crystal from the Rolex Submariner, that is 30 millimeters. And the weight of this watch surprised me a lot because it's just 5 grams more than the Rolex Submariner, so it is 157 grams, and the Rolex Submariner was 152 grams. So in terms of measurements, this is not as big as I thought. It was not as big as I thought. The biggest measurements here that I got is from the sapphire. The sapphire is 2.3 millimeters bigger. From other things, this watch, the Rolex Explorer, is just maybe 1 millimeter bigger in everything than the Rolex Submariner. So that surprised me a lot. And now I get why I really like how this watch looks on my wrist. Now, one thing that I have to talk about. So the Rolex Submariner for me just gives me just a tad, like a little bit feeling that the watch wears bigger in terms of perspective, or when you see it from afar or from a certain position, because although it wears nicely, it's all black. The bezel is black, the dial is black, so there's no cut in between the dial and the bezel. So it's all black. It's just flush black here. And I think that makes the watch look a little bit bigger from afar, because it's just one unified color here. But when I wear my Rolex Explorer 2, so yeah, it's gonna look bigger. Obviously, it's gonna look bigger. But I think that because of the bezel, that it is all stainless steel, you can only see the diameter of the dial because it's white, but there's an interruption here with the stainless steel bezel, and I think that gives the Rolex Explorer some kind of play that maybe, or an illusion that maybe this watch is not that big. And as you can see, it is nowhere near the tip of the log to log is nowhere near to my wrist, and it is a 6.7 inch wrist, but the span of my wrist is 53 and on the bone is 57. So you can see how the bracelet flares out, and the log to log is nowhere near my edge of the wrist. So I'm going to move it a little bit more to my slimmer side of my wrist, and you can see it's still not on the limit on my wrist. So that's what I like about the Rolex Explorer 2. I think that they refined a lot the watch, and one of the measurements that I really wanted to talk about, and I forgot a little bit, is the measurement of the logs. So I was looking, inspecting the watches a lot, and the logs for me of the Rolex Explorer 2 feel slimmer than the Rolex Submariner. So I don't know if you can see that. It's kind of difficult with this light, but look at that. There you go. Maybe there you can see that. I think that the logs are slimmer. And why? Because they slimmed down a millimeter the logs for it to fit the 22 millimeter bracelet. And yeah, I took the measurements, and the end link of the Explorer 2 is, so I'm going to measure them again. I'm going to try on camera for you to see, guys. But look, I took the measurements from here to here, and 2.8. All right, 2.8, and this one is 2.4. There we go. So 2.8 and 2.4, and those are just a little bit thinner than the Rolex Submariner, and that confirms it. That's why this one looks incredibly well on the wrist. It wears nicely. It actually reminds me of my Explorer 2, the 40 millimeters that I had maybe 2 years back, and I love how that wears. But this one is, for me, and now, I think it's so much better to wear this one than the 40 millimeters. Yes, it is heavy. Yes, it is bigger. But I think that the 40 millimeters looks just a little bit, I don't know, the proportions are not right for me. I don't know why I fell in love with this watch a lot. that I haven't taken it out of my wrist in almost a month. It's kind of weird. I love it. I love the sportiness. I love how this watch wears. It's just an amazing, amazing watch. It has dethroned my Rolex Explorer 1 for my most worn watch in 2024. And I think it's going to stay like that because it's a very comfortable watch because of the length and the width and the measurements of the watch. Sits very nice on my wrist. I don't wear as much my Submariner as the Rolex Explorer 2 because I think that it doesn't look big on me, but I think it looks bigger when I see it from afar because of the all black bezel and all black dial, and that's what it gets me. I don't know why. I think that the Rolex Explorer 2 wears incredibly well, but it does. This new Explorer 2 is just an amazing watch. I really recommend guys to take a look at this because it has the date. That's another thing that this watch has that the Rolex Submariner, my Rolex Submariner doesn't have. And it's just amazing to have the date, and the readability of the dial is amazing. And the Ultra Maxi, because this is a Maxi dial, the Ultra Maxi dial that this Rolex Explorer has is just uncomparable to the Maxi dial of the Rolex Submariner. It just looks like a regular dial here compared to this one. Bigger loom, bigger indices, bigger hands, bigger everything. They are incredibly legible and super bold. And Rolex Submariner, they look dainty, smaller. I don't know. But cool. This shines very cool in the light. This one doesn't have any shininess because it's coated. But it's an amazing watch. I really love them both. But it has become my favorite watch of 2024. The Explorer 2 is just by far my preferred watch or my preferred Rolex to wear on this year. So let me know in the comments down below, guys, what do you think about this measurements and my opinion about the Explorer 2 versus the Rolex Submariner. Yes, the Explorer 2 has 100 meters of water resistance. The Submariner has 300, but one is for diving, the other one is for spelunking, although I'm not going to do that. I'm going to explore mountains maybe, or take a hike, or maybe take it on a trip and, have a chance to use the feature of the GMT hand. That will be great. And I really like the sportiness. And I think that the Explorer 2 is one of them. This is going to sound weird, but this is the most Tudor Rolex yet. I don't know if I'm explaining this right, but this is going to sound weird, but this is the most Tudor Rolex yet. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Remember to like and subscribe. It really does help to this channel. If you don't like to do that, well, don't worry about it. Thank you for watching anyway. And remember, guys, I'm Andy, and I'll be here spending time watching time.